Hello, my internet friends. In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to hide your API keys safely when using them in React projects. As you might or might not know by now, when building projects that require API keys, you need to be careful in storing them safely. Many API keys are used for APIs that charge you per request, or if you reach a certain amount. This means that if your API key got in the wrong hands, you could wake up one day to thousands being taken out of your bank account because someone has found it and decided to use it at your expense. To prevent this happening, there are two things you need to do. Number one, do not upload your API key onto your GitHub account. So in other words, if you have your API key like this, hard-coded into your code, don't then drag it over onto your GitHub to be uploaded, or do any commit or pushing of files or anything like that. Just don't do it. GitHub is a public place and anyone can search for certain keywords and potentially find your API key. Also, be aware of the existence of a git commit history. If you push the files by mistake that contain your hard-coded API key and then overrode them, the API key will still remain in your history, so just be aware of that. And number two, using a .env file. Now, when using React, it is possible to create a .env file and store your API key as a secret in there. This is great, as by adding it then to the .gitignore file, you will then prevent your .env file from being committed and being sent over to be displayed on your GitHub account by mistake. However, what is super important for you to know is that this is still not super safe. This approach is great for building out front-end projects for demos or classroom projects. It is not safe, however, for the real-life world. For example, here is a React project that I have made. By storing my secrets in a .env file on the front end, I can use my inspect tool to see the code that was bundled up and stuffed into the element with the ID of root. They are embedded into the build, okay? So as you will see here, all my React code and my secret have been injected into here, with the React code being changed into JavaScript and the secret being revealed as a string that we saved it as in the .env file. In fact, the only real safe way to store your API keys is to build out some form of backend. There are a few ways to do this. You might have seen me use serverless functions in the past, but today I'm going to be showing you how to do this by building out a Node.js backend. So let's do it. Okay, so let's do it. I'm going to show you how to save your API keys safely by building out a mini backend. First off, here is the project that I'm continuing from. If you want to have a go at coding this, please do the part 1 before carrying on. Otherwise, please continue watching me show you how to make a backend for a React project. So at the moment, this project is fully front end. It's built purely in React. And as you will see here, we are making GET requests to an API directly from the front end. And along with making a request to this URL, we are also passing through some headers, which are the X-Rapid API hosts, along with the X-Rapid API key right here in order to communicate with this API right here. So at the moment, this rapid API key is in the .env file. However, as mentioned, this is not safe. We can go ahead and inspect our project and find this quite easily. Once again, I'm going to show you how to do this. So first off, let's just run this project. So in your terminals, please making sure you are in the directory of your project, run npm run start. Or if you are using WebStorm like me, simply just go ahead and click here. And that will spin up our app. So there we go, here is our app. And if I now inspect our app and simply go to sources, look under static.js, and in the main chunk, you will see our rapid API key is showing as the string. Okay, it's showing as the string that we saved in the .env file. So anyone can go ahead and inspect our project and steal it. So this is what I want to prevent. And I'm going to do this by first off making this GET request that we see right here happen on the backend. And then use our front end to get the data that is returned back to us from the backend on our front end. Don't worry if that doesn't make sense, because I'm going to show you how to do this step by step now. So the first thing we're going to do is make a mini backend. So in the root of your project, so on the same level as the package.json, please go ahead and create a new file, make it a JavaScript file, and I'm just going to call our backend index.js. You can call it whatever you wish. And in here, the basics to getting started to making a mini backend are the following. The first thing we need to do is define a port on which we want to run our backend on. I'm going to say it's port 8000. And next we need the packages. So as a refresher for those of you who haven't been doing this for a while, perhaps it's your first time doing this. As I said, this is a prerequisite, so I'm not going to go into too much detail. But we are going to need packages, and the packages can all be found here on the npm registry. And the package we are going to be installing are Express. So this package right here, that's going to help us with routing. So just like so, this is how we're going to install it, and this is how we're going to use it in our project. So this is one of the packages we will be using. Another one is cause. It was essentially going to whitelist certain locations for us. Another package that we are going to use is .env. In order to use our env file on the backend, this is what we need to install. And the last one is going to be Axios, that we are going to use in order to make GET requests on our backend. Okay, so let's go ahead and install all of those now. I'm just going to get out my terminal up here. And making sure, again, we are in the project, I'm just going to do npm install express course.env and Axios, and just let that run. Okay, so there we go. And while that is installing, let's carry on. So as we saw previously, and as I copied from the npm registry, this is how we start using Express. What I am doing is essentially going into my package.json and getting this package, and then using it by saving as the const express. The same for cause, so require the package cause and save it as cause. And then finally, let's just add the others. So const axios equals require axios. And with .env, it's a bit different. As I saw from the documentation earlier, it's .env and then just config like so, making sure to spell require correctly. So there we go. Those are all the packages that we need. And if we look in the package.json, you will see they have been installed here. So all 4 of them along with their versions. Now, if your project isn't working for any reason, it could be because the version is not the same and this version that I'm using is now outdated. So you can either just go back to this version right here by changing the numbers and then reinstalling all the packages by running npm I, or you can fix it based on the package that you are using. It is up to you. So let's carry on. Now, the first package that I'm going to use is Express. So let's get Express, because I'm going to use Express in order to just listen out to our server. So Express, once again, I'm using the package, I'm saving as Express, and now that we have it here, I'm going to essentially just call it like so. So now it releases all of its wonderfulness. And let's save it as something new now. I'm going to choose to save it as app. And the package Express actually comes with some great stuff. It comes with listen. And we can use listen, so this is coming from Express, to listen out to changes on our port. So I'm going to pass through the port, and I'm simply going to pass through a callback function. So this is the syntax for using listen. And my callback function is simply just going to console log onto our backend, or you can write server, it is completely up to you, is running on port, and then we'll get the port. Okay, so let's check this is working. Well, for this, I actually need to write a script. So in here, along with the start script, I'm gonna make another script, this time to start our backend. So we can choose what to call this script. I'm gonna go start backend. And if we write this command, I want to use Node index.js to run the backend. But I can also use another package to listen out for changes all the time on the backend, and that is a package called Nodemon. So let's go ahead and install that package, npm I nodemon. This will continuously listen out for changes on our backend. So that one is my preferred option to use. And while we are here, I'm actually just going to amend this so it's more readable to start front end, which of course means that we need to rerun this because at the moment the npm run start script doesn't exist. So let's just rerun this. I'm going to change that up here, and the script is start front end, and apply it just like so. Okay, and click OK. If you aren't using WebStorm, all you have to do is go back into your terminal, and when before you had npm run start, please cancel that from running and instead write npm run start front end. Okay, so that's the equivalent of what I just did up here, but I'm not going to use this because I have already done it. So my front end is already running here again. And now if I take this script, get on my terminal, and in a new tab, making sure I am still in the project, I'm going to use npm run start backend. And great, server is running on port 8000. So that is working. Let's continue. Now, before we get to hiding our API key, well, we need everything to be done on the backend. So I'm going to show you how to do this now. This is the most simple piece of routing we can do. So with this piece of code, I'm just going to explain it to you after I write it. Hopefully this is just a refresher for people. I am saying that if I visit localhost 8000, okay, just localhost 8000, that's equivalent of me writing localhost 8000, and then I pass through a callback with a request and a response, I can then use response.json to show the word hi in the browser. Okay, so method, path, callback with request and response. That is the syntax, okay? That is the template for everything that we need to do with routing. And now if I visit localhost 8000, you will see the word hi show up. So that is looking like it's working. We are going to use this as a template for the next step. So I'm just going to copy that. And this time, what I want to say is that if I visit the URL, let's go with news, instead of hi, I want to display all the results of my API call right here. Okay, so what I'm actually going to do is just copy all of this. Okay, this is the request we are making to Rapid API to get all the news sources and then store the results as articles in this component. Well, let's grab all of this, go in here, and instead of res.json hi, we don't want to show hi, we want to show the response data that comes back when we make this request. So we can get rid of that as we are not setting articles to state. And instead of console logging the response data, I want to show it in the browser. So you guessed it, I'm going to use res.json. Okay, and now because we are using .env, this will work. We are picking up whatever is in this file. Okay, so without that, without this line, this would not work. So let's check it out. I'm just going to refresh here and let's visit news, and wonderful. So that is step one done. We are getting the news show up in our browser, which means that now instead of visiting on the front end, instead of us visiting this Rapid API URL, I can now just visit this URL. And it'll give me back the same things. However, I will not need to pass through this on the front end. So let's get rid of that. Okay, and I'm just going to replace this URL with this. Great, so wonderful. We now no longer need the secret. We no longer need to store any secret on the front end because all we're doing is visiting our URL here, and all that work is done on the backend right here. So this is now safe. This is considered a backend. This is where we are visiting Rapid API and having to pass through an API key. So let's just check that works. I'm just going to save all of this and go here and just refresh this page, making sure that is still running. We seem to have an error. It is blocked by CORS. So this is easy. This is why we installed CORS, and I actually wanted to show you this. So without the package, we would get this error. However, let's go back to our backend and you will see we have installed the package, but we haven't yet used it. So to use it, I'm going to get app use and then simply pass through the package CORS and call it. So now if we go in here and refresh, ta-da! We are getting the news articles. We, from our front end, are making a GET request to this URL to get all of this data. And our back end is the thing that is making the GET request to Rapid API. So, wonderful. Let's carry on. Now we have one more thing to do because we actually make two API calls to two different APIs in this project. So this is good for repetition. I'm just going to shut down all the ones that I don't need anymore. So here's our backend. We also make a API call in the currency converter. So as you will see here, here is our GET request. So what do? Step one, we go into our backend and using this as a template, I'm just going to put this down here, or perhaps let's put it up here so we can compare. Once again, we have the request method, we have the path, and then we have the callback function. And instead of just responding with JSON, when we visit a path, let's choose to call this path convert this time. You can call it whatever you wish. I am now going to essentially copy all of this, including the catch with errors, and just paste it in here. So let's make that a little bit smaller so you can see the whole thing, but essentially that is the whole thing. And let's just get rid of some things because we don't need to set any exchange data. We don't need to set a result. The console log can stay. So now that is our full piece of code. We are making a request to this. However, we don't have a chosen primary currency. We're going to have to pass that through as a parameter. For now, let's just hard code US dollars. And for now, for this one, let's just hard code Bitcoin. We know that this will work because we have imported this package and used it. So that is looking good. And instead of console logging, well, I want to use res.json to show the response in my browser. Okay, so there we go, res.json, and I'm just going to copy this like so and get rid of that. So now if we visit localhost /convert, I'm gonna get my data from here with these params that I passed through. So essentially I am going to be exchanging or getting the exchange rate from US dollars to Bitcoin. And let's just go in here and this time visit convert. And there we go. We are getting back the same response that we got previously when we did it on the front end. But of course now we are hard coding these. We don't want that. We need to pass through parameters. So let's go back to our front end. And this time, like we said, we don't need to visit this URL anymore because we can just visit our backend to get the response that we need, which is this. This is the exchanged amount. I'm just going to paste that in here. And we don't need these headers anymore. These are not safe, remember. We are doing all of this on the backend now. So let's go ahead and just delete that. Now, one last thing we need to do, as I said, is pass through parameters. Okay. So I'm going to show you how to do this. Let's just go ahead and click save here and go back to our backend. Now, when we make a GET request with parameters, this stuff, this information right here is sent over with our request. So if I console log request, just like so, and let's go ahead and just refresh this and convert, and then visit our terminal, you will see that this is the request that is sent over. You will see the path in here, you will see the method, you will also see the query. Okay, so there we go. Here's the query. So we need to go into the query object and then get from currency, but also get to currency. So let's do that now. So once again, here is the request object. I need to go into the query, and then I also need to get the to currency. So let's save this as something. I'm just going to show you this works first of all. So once again, let's refresh and just click the convert button. And there's the to currency. So I can now, let's go ahead and save this as const to currency, just like so. Cut this out and paste it. And let's do the same with from currency, because we know it's pretty much the same. So this is from currency, query from currency. Okay, so now instead of hard coding these two here, let's switch them up. So I'm just going to replace this with to currency and this to from currency. So that is how you would pass through parameters from the front end to the back end. Okay, let's check it out. Let's see if it works. So once again, I am just going to actually go back in here to see if this is working, and console log to currency. And then console log from currency, to currency. Refresh this. Let's select Bitcoin to US dollar and let's click convert. You will see to currency US dollar and from currency is Bitcoin. So that is working. We have one more thing to do. At the moment, we are simply console logging the result out here as the actual conversion. This means that in the front end, this will simplify things for us, as we simply just need to get this. So let's go back into the front end. And this time, I'm just going to console log out response data. So let's see what returns back to us. Bitcoin, US dollar, convert. And there we go. So that is the exchange rate. So we don't need to go into the object and into the object again. I am simply going to just get the response data and multiply it by an amount. So let's do the same for here. So I'm simply just going to delete all this and simply just get the response data. Bitcoin, US dollar, convert, and there we go. So we are now getting the exchange rate, and if I change this to multiply by 2 and click convert, we are now getting that to multiply by 2 as well. So there we go. That is essentially how you would keep your API keys safe by building out a backend for a project. And I also showed you how to pass parameters through from a front end to a back end as well. So hopefully this makes sense. This is looking good. I'm going to save that for you. So please do have a go at playing around with this yourself. Have fun, do some experimenting, and see you in the next lessons.